The internet's slow this morning, I think.
Oh,
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us in the chat. And today I have my beautiful friend, Jason Hairston. And it's so lovely to see you back. We were just saying backstage, it's probably been about a year since
yeah.
we've had a chat online about this type of work that we both do. And I've titled it Authentic Connections. How are you, Jason?
I'm great. It's good to see you again, Solreta. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. And I know you and I will catch up later after as well, because I think it's going to be hard to keep this one to an hour, but we'll do our best because I know we've got so much to catch up on. And I can see everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us.
Peace,
And
everybody. Peace.
I'll also pop up. We've got your link tree as well. So if you guys want to jump on over and follow Jason as well, he's on Instagram, Facebook, so many different projects that we'll talk about that you're doing today too. And I've got a couple of little clips and videos to share what you're doing. I just want to bring up, this was the card. I haven't shown you this yet, but I got the card Isis for our conversation today. And you can see here, the goddess of magic, sexual energy is sacred. My pleasure is a prayer that brings me back to life. And yeah, beautiful goddess. She feels like a Kundalini type energy. And with you and I, like first meeting when you were in Melbourne, doing dance as well. Yeah, it was such a magical experience. And it just kind of reminded me of that encapsulation of that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss
So,
Melbourne. I have to come back for sure.
yeah, definitely. We would love to have you back. And it'd be so good to catch up. I also want to get over to where you are as well.
Okay.
Let me let me just bring up our little windows. And I just want to remind everyone that this is the last week for the Soul Alchemy Potions competition. So we are giving away 6 of my beautiful potions and a free reading from me. And you can see here all of the affirmations that go with the potions. So today I'm actually drinking cleansing vibes. So this is this one. You can see here it's got beautiful lemongrass, calendula. It's got cornflower. It's just such a beautiful, clean feeling drink. And it also, the affirmation with this one is, I release what no longer serves me. So it's a really important one for this astrological time that we're in. And you can see it here. And so, yeah, jump on over to any of my social media platforms for Soul Alchemy Potions, and you guys can jump on to the competition there. And thank you to those that are subscribing. We're slowly growing Soul Alchemy Potions, the channel, and I'm so happy to bring beautiful guests like Jason. Let me just stop this screen share for a moment because I have your intro that I wanted to play. I was telling you backstage
Yeah.
that you have a video that it introduced you so much better than I could verbally. So let me pop this forward. Okay, got it.
I'm Jason Hairston, and this is Self-Mastery Science. What I do as a healing artist is I help people find the buried parts of themselves underneath trauma. Self-Mastery Science brings insight to our full potential as energetic technology. There's a code running, an energetic code running inside of you. But when you experience pain emotionally, it's because your code has busted. When uncertainty is all around, this is the perfect time to do the inner work because you're in the space of the unknown. So to understand our technology is to understand the deeper aspect of our collective purpose. I'll be talking to experts about culture, abundance, relationships, and much more. Within each episode, we'll explore how you can reclaim your sovereignty. You'll either be a student of life or a victim of circumstance. You have to choose. My name is Jason Hairston, and you can catch my show, Self-Mastery Science, exclusively on Ickonic Media.
So thank you for that wonderful introduction. I just thought that it was just so beautifully put together, the cinematography, and of course, people can find you over on the Ickonic Series that's connected with David Icke. And
Well, it's actually Jamie Icke, who is David Icke's son, is actually his network. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Christiane, who's the one who brought me over to Ickonic.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so involved with his father's work too.
Yeah.
And I know our other friend, Carrie Ann, who
Oh,
I've had
okay.
on my show. Yeah, she's on the Ickonic Series as well. And I just also want to share with people where they can find you. So let me just bring up this. So we've got your link tree here, which if anyone's looking for where it is, it's easier to find probably on your Instagram account, and you can see you've got so much going on. You're also a music artist, and I love it because you're really about bringing potency and words and true meaning back to music. It's not about what like the old style of rap is. Can you maybe talk a little bit about if I've missed anything? Because we'll get into maybe Windows, what we were talking about, maybe a little bit later on.
Okay. Yeah, for me, music should be medicinal. That's how I see it. So I use music as a format to get my message out. I post a lot on Facebook and social media expressing myself, and music is just an extension of that. And I feel like when you put words with music, it really goes deeper into your spirit when you put those words to music. And I think that we don't realize how powerful music is. And in my opinion, if you look at all of the ancient cultures, music was always used as a tool to express, the culture in a positive way. I feel like in America, in modern culture today, a lot of music is toxic and destructive. And I'm not sure if I've ever seen a representation of music being used in that way before. I'm not saying that it never existed, but I just feel like it's very odd to me that we're using music. It's almost like a weapon, and it's keeping our vibration low. And we're listening to these words, these negative words within this deep 808 bass that's keeping you in your lower chakras. And when you explain that to people, a lot of people think that's woo-woo spiritual talk, when they don't understand who we are as vibrational beings. When we don't understand who we are on a scientific vibrational level, people tend to write that off. So I want to counter that with music that touches the heart of the people. I want you to listen to my music and say, I never thought of it that way. Or I can identify with how he feels about this certain situation. I went through that too. And maybe give them some light on how to get through the situation. So anything that I do, I want it to be medicinal on a vibrational level, whether it's music, film, interviews, right? I want to touch your heart. And I want to hopefully touch your heart and help open you up so you can step into your own power, right? You can't really step into your power without opening your heart to infinite possibilities that are available through yourself, right? So that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point, about putting that magic or that essence of love. That's definitely why I've created this Soul Alchemy Potions brand, because I saw the need and I guess the lack of authenticity. And that's also, talking about authentic connections, and why I titled this is because I see you as a really beautiful, authentic person. And just the way that, I've seen in the other interviews that were done, and, talking to you in person, you just have that kind of aura about you and that magnetism. And I know backstage we were chatting quickly, trying to catch up because it's been a while, but yeah, you were talking about creating from a space of love. Can you maybe continue that chat we were having a little bit backstage? Because that's such an important thing. A lot of people will just, create out of this space of money, is what you were talking about. And yeah, can you talk about the difference?
Yeah. And, I just feel like in today's world, we have lost that love, like really making music because we love music, really, whatever, cooking because we love to cook. I feel like a lot of people are just jumping on trends, and it's all about getting the bag, getting the money. And when that happens, when people create from that space, the market is getting flooded with all these superficial creations that have no depth. And what happens is, since that's been happening for such a long time, the younger kids have been conditioned to think that this is quality representation of creativity, which is not, right? So this is why I feel like it's my responsibility, because I know this is happening, and because I have talents, is to counter that with creativity that makes you feel something. So people need to feel the difference from authentic creation and superficial creation. And you literally have to look for something that has depth, because there are a lot of artists who still create from that space, but in pop culture, which is the culture that has the most influence, the machine does not push authentic art like it actually used to at one point in time. So because we have the internet, we don't really need to use that same old school machine to get our content out. We can use the internet and get our own niche audience and create from that space that's potent, that authentic space that when you hear it, you feel it. I remember listening to music and wanting to close my eyes. I mean, I still find music like that, but I am trying to get to a space where I hopefully bring other people with me, where we make this type of authentic art part of pop culture again, right? Because it needs to be in the forefront.
Yeah, and that's the only sort of music that I listen to. I really don't listen to a lot of the mainstream stuff anymore. Just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it just when you hear it and the negativity that it's programming and the culture that it's trying to condition you to be acceptable, it just you actually see how it divides people and how it gives like a whole different programming to the mind. So a lot of the music I listen to is more kind of installing positive affirmations and programs and really kind of just uplifting, and you feel it. You feel the difference. You feel your frequency shift. And what we were talking about too was, backstage talking about that potency of authenticity is even supposed to be measured electrically higher than love. And I don't have my little spiral picture that I was thinking I should pop up to demonstrate it. But we know that fear and anger and hatred and a lot of the other lower vibrational emotions are very, very down on that scale. So authenticity and love being the two highest up there. And if you're incorporating that into music and into, different projects that you're working on, which I want to share, you have a project that you're crowdfunding for at the moment. And it is called Windows. I'm just going to bring this up. So here we have the poster for it. Do you maybe want to talk to us a little bit about what it is that you guys are creating at the moment?
Yeah, so Windows is from the mind of my talented friend Reginald Sinners, and it's his creation. And a while back, we were creating a version of Windows that's completely different from this version. We were writing together, but we stopped doing that. We went on our separate paths for a second, but then he came back and remixed the whole idea, and it's even more amazing where he took it this time. And he approached me and he said, Jason, I want you to be a part of this version of Windows as well. And I said, of course, because he sent me like maybe 6 episodes to read the scripts. And I was like, this is amazing. I definitely want to be a part of this. And I'm coming on as an executive producer and also as a creative consultant. So a lot of the content within this show is parallel with my own life, for me doing shamanic work and dealing in the spiritual realm. So sometimes he asks me questions about certain things in the script, like how would this really be, or how should this, and I give him some insight. So the story is basically about a young man who has a shamanic lineage, and he's a shaman. He doesn't want to accept his gift because he saw how it affected his father in a negative way. So he has this fear of embracing his gift of being able to see spirits and deal with the unseen world. So it's a very interesting show that deals with the supernatural realm, that deals with stepping into your own power. A lot of things that I talk about, right? So it's showing you that conflict, that inner conflict with being afraid of your own power and how that affects you in your life. So it's a very powerful project, and it's an honor to be a part of it. And I look forward to really shooting. We're crowdfunding for a teaser trailer, but we're planning on shooting the actual pilot later on this year.
Oh, that's such an exciting project to work on. And it sounds like it'll be a really great coming of age story in the synopsis.
Yeah, it is a coming of age story. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And I love it. Like the synopsis that we just had up, the supernatural themes and things like that. I'm like, oh, imagine like if we were kids and we had this kind of content around to watch. It'd be one of those things that you want more and more. So yeah, I'm just wishing you all the success with that. And I can't wait to see it come together. And how exciting that it's based on a lot of your experiences. I've got a couple of questions for you. So one of them was, how would you define authentic connection? What does it mean to you?
Being authentic to me means really expressing how you truly feel. I feel like a lot of us don't feel safe enough, and we don't feel safe enough, and we might not be confident enough to really express how we feel because we're afraid of the backlash we may receive by sharing something that most people may not identify with, right? Which is understandable because as humans, we're tribal, right? We want to be accepted by whatever group we want to be accepted by. But unfortunately, in modern times, the cultures that are the most popular cultures, whether we're talking about, I want to talk about just in the West for now, is just, it doesn't support authenticity at all. Everybody's wearing a mask and everybody's afraid to be who they are. I mean, it's always been like this on some level, but I feel like it's increased on an extreme level to where nobody's being real. And especially in the age of social media, because everybody's chasing this clout to try to be viral. So they're pretending like, they're sad or pretending like all this and that just so they can get clicks, right? And likes, or
Yeah.
saying or trolling and saying something they don't really feel just to be shocking, right? It's all about that now. So I feel like being authentic is the best way to open yourself up for God to create through you, right? When I'm authentic and I'm really true to myself, I'm allowing God to come in to express in the purest form that it can through me. And that's how you create the most potent type of creative arts or whatever you're doing, is you allow yourself to really express and be vulnerable, right? With how you're feeling about whatever it is you're expressing.
Yeah. And I can just see just the way that you're describing it and the feeling I get. You also look after your container. You look after your body, your temple, which also just means that, you're more of a conduit to be able to anchor and bring that flow from God and your higher self down here into the earth. And that also, is that container for that authenticity. How would you relate, because I know with your work that you do with your shamanic healing as well, you can really see that there's a level of authenticity with that, because I know there's a lot of healers out there that perhaps are not kind of following what it is that they're supposed to be doing, whether they're following someone else's program or system, or I don't think you guys had this, but back when I was in college studying natural medicine, we had this ad that was on TV, and it was for health insurance to cover for chiropractics and to cover for natural medicine. And it was this dude had someone on the healing table and just had actual fish, slapping them over the person.
Wow.
Just kind of, talking about how natural healing is like the woo-woo, but saying that they'll cover it. And there's still people out there that are in, strange corners of the internet doing strange things with healing. But yeah, can you talk a bit about your style of healing, because you do feel and you see your clients go through that shift and change, and I do think it's because you hold such a potent authenticity as well. I know we're going to keep saying that word. Give a thumbs up for maybe every time we say that word. And thank you to those that are already putting the little likes and shares as well. This really helps us to push this information out, because this is what we were talking about backstage too, is we both really are coming from such a heart space, wanting to bring value to the community and really wanting to be able to help people that are in need and to connect them with, higher frequency and vibration.
Yeah, I've actually stepped back from doing a lot of energy healing sessions and even promoting that, because I'm being more focused on creating artistic content to spread my message. But the thing about it is, whenever I do energy healing or anything in that realm, the main thing that I really focus on is being present with my client during the entire session, and projecting love and truly being there for them. And a lot of times, a lot of trauma comes up and they're crying and they're scared, and I'm there to comfort them, right? From that authentic space of genuinely really wanting to help them. It was never just about money for me. It never was just about that. And I don't have a problem with charging for your services, but I felt like, and I've talked about this over and over again, I know with you, to where I realized I had to separate doing energy healing and things of that nature responsible for my livelihood. And the reason being is that, unfortunately, when you're real and you're authentic, for some reason, people are not as drawn to that as they are to the fake healers, right? The fake healers make a lot more money. And by watching the fake healers, I know exactly what they do to get that money. I could do it too, but I have too much integrity to lower my standards to do certain things that I know that will bring me more clients. I remember, I give you an example. I did a trade with this woman a long time ago, and she was giving me marketing tips, right? And she said to me, Jason, when you have the clients in the consultation, what you do is you ask them where the pain is. And you tell them, yeah, doesn't that hurt? You twist it into the wound. Doesn't that hurt? Doesn't, and then you sell them the dream. I was just like, no, that's emotional manipulation. I'm not going to do. She's like, no, it's not. I do that all the time. And I make a lot of money. I said, I didn't say that it wouldn't make me a lot of money. What I said was it was emotional manipulation. And I won't do that. What I will do in the consultations is tell my potential client how I can help them.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not going to be like, doesn't that hurt? Yeah. Well, when you work with me, I'll take you to heaven and you'll no. And I tell my energy healing clients that you can come to me a million times, but if you don't deal with the reason why that blockage was in your aura in the first place, which means do self-mastery work too, you'll just keep coming back. And I will be like, what you call it? A temporary fix for you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so in alignment with my clients with this as well. And it's all about giving them the keys so that they can help themselves. So self-mastery is the perfect word for that. And I can see some like little like hug heart emojis and things with what you were talking about then. So I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I did have another question, and it was about so I do have a few like around healing and things as well. But I actually would like to talk about like this movement, because I'm feeling the same, going from this healing sort of space in terms of like then elevating to bringing more information or helping, you know, an audience in a wider way. And I wonder if it's also to do with the age of Aquarius and some of the astrology that we have for this year, but it does feel like we're moving or shifting to a different kind of platform, or to try and bring in, and not from like a, you know, a likes point of view or anything like that, but it's like trying to talk to many rather than just talking to one-on-one, right. Even though I love that one-on-one work, but I really feel such a sense and an urgency to be able to communicate or connect with people in like a bigger space right now. Do you feel that like with this shift?
Yes, and I feel like personally, just for me, my strongest gift is my talents when it comes to music and writing and things of that nature, or coming up with ideas. Like I am really strong in that area. And I feel like art is one of the most powerful tools you can use to get a message across. You know, there are a million people who have a million podcasts. And at one time I wanted a podcast. It's so flooded with so many podcasts. It's so much noise. I don't even want a podcast anymore. But here's the thing. Anybody can create a podcast and just parrot certain rhetoric and not really understand the rhetoric, not really believe in the rhetoric, just to pretend to get the bag, to get that money, right? But guess what? You can't fake authentic art, because there's a feeling and a vibrational frequency in that you can't mimic. You can try and you may get close, but if you put authentic art up against some art that's just superficial, the authentic art will always be more potent than superficial art. And this is what I know. But I know someone can get on a podcast and say similar things to what I say and sound like they know what they're talking about, but they don't even live that way in their life. They don't even believe in nothing they're saying. But you can't create music like I create with the tone of my voice, the frequency, and the feeling in it. You can't mimic that. So that's why I feel like to reach more people with a more potency will be done through the arts. And this is what God has shown me. It's time to step into the most potent way to express myself, which I feel is through artistic content.
Yeah. And it's funny, I've had comments with, with my potions, and everyone's like, I just love listening to you when you're talking about, how they were created or like what they're for. They're like, you can just feel the magic and the soul that you've poured into them. And it's like, that lets me know that I'm doing my job, that, that I've created and connected with part of my mission here. And it's funny, I always had a sense of having like a little potion store when I was a kid. And I'd always be like, with the dirt and the gum nuts and the flowers, stirring my little potions out in like a log that had been hollowed out as a kid. So I actually just feel like I'm now the grown up version. Do you feel like with you that you had this potential when you were young? Like, were you in performing arts or music, or did people sort of, were you that kid that was like performing for your family?
Well, I was always into arts, but I didn't really participate in school or anything like that. But I was a hip hop artist back in the early 90s. I used to go to the studio and spend a lot of money recording demos. And at one point, I sent a demo in to Quest Records, which is Quincy Jones's label. And the reason why I sent the demo there is because I read in the Source magazine that Ali Shaheed Muhammad from A Tribe Called Quest took an A&R position at Quest Records. So I sent the demo in, and Quest Records called my home and said Ali Shaheed Muhammad wants to hear more music. By the time I recorded another demo and sent it in, he had already left from that position. But I'm thankful I never got a deal because I didn't understand what the industry was at that time. And I'm pretty sure once I got a taste of how the industry really is, I would have walked away.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have sold my soul or done any of the things that I feel like you need to do to get to the top tier level. It's not enough money in the world for me to sell my soul. I don't have a price tag at all. So I just wanted to create music because I love music. So now as an adult, right, it comes full circle. My investments and things that I'm doing are set me up to where I can be my own investor. And because of the internet, I don't need Quest Records.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a creative marketer too. All I need is the money behind, and I could creatively market stuff. And if people, and God willing, if people like my art, it'll expand and reach more people. But that's really not up to me. That's up to God and how God wants to use me. So if I put my art out and people don't like it, it's okay. But it's not going to affect my pockets because I'm making money over here doing other things, So I set myself up like that on purpose now to where I'm more of an investor, or I want to say half and half. Before I was in my monk phase, right? I was idealistic. Oh, everybody wants to come get healing eventually. Oh, and I can live my life and live off of this, being authentically a healer. I had to face reality that no, you can't be an authentic healer and make a lot of money and be comfortable. So what I have to do is separate my livelihood from things that I want to present to the world. So when I create music and I put it out, it's okay if people don't like it. But if you like it, good. Right?
Yeah.
I want to be in that position. And just like my favorite director that's alive today, because my favorite director is Stanley Kubrick, but my favorite director that's alive, his name is Derek Cianfrance. Derek Cianfrance mainly makes commercials to make his main money, but every now and then he makes a movie. So one of my favorite films is The Place Beyond the Pines, which is an amazing movie. And you got to check out this, The Place Beyond the Pines, and check out this movie called The Light Between Oceans. Now, the reason why I'm bringing him up is because his movies, none of them are blockbuster hits, but they are so deep and human. Like, you really care about the characters because you can tell when he makes his movies, it's not about making money. It's about creating art. He wants to create movies because he loves movies. He does commercials for his livelihood. You see?
Yeah.
He figured out that I have to separate my passion for creating authentic art from my livelihood. And I finally figured that out, that I have to do the same because I'm just like Derek Cianfrance. I love to create impactful art, right? I love it when I discover any kind of art that impacts me. I'm like, wow. It inspires, excuse me. It inspires me. I said, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It makes me want to create something amazing, right? And I missed that. I remember when I was a kid, when I wanted to do music, the reason why I wanted to make music is because I heard my favorite MC, Rakim, and I heard him And I was like, he was different at that time. I was like, wow, did you hear how he's using those words? And his rhyme scheme pattern was different and on another level. I was like, ooh, I want to do that. Right. So it came from a place of inspiration, of hearing something great that prompted me to want to create something great. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, today, money is prompting people to do everything. Whether we talk about romantic relationships, making music, it doesn't matter what it is. It's all about money. That's first. Priority first, make money. And it's just like that extracts the authentic connection within everything.
Yeah.
Put money first. When you put money first, you're literally making an anti-human declaration in a sense. Money first. That's anti-human.
Yeah.
Connection first, right?
Yeah.
But
I agree.
if we don't see enough examples of how that's beneficial, if we don't have enough reference points to see that, we don't understand the value in it. Where can these kids today see a reference point of the value of connection? Where can they look to see that? Nowhere. Because
Yeah.
popular culture is the main thing that's in their faces, and they're not seeing authentic connection. They're not seeing authentic expression. They're seeing superficial expression, and people are getting rich from it. So what does that make them think? That's how you become successful. You create superficial things, right? So I want to counter that with my art. I want to show these kids, because I'm doing it mainly for the kids now. If you're an adult, like some people are just stuck in their ways and they just are where they are, many adults. But I'm mainly realized that I'm doing this for the babies. Like I want to create, and like I said backstage, I've shifted to a place where I want to focus more on creating content that has Black characters. So you can see a Black man and a Black woman in love, a Black community loving and caring for each other. If you create the reference point, these kids can see that's a possibility.
Yeah.
When we had the Cosby Show, these Black kids watched that and said, oh, a Black doctor. I could be a doctor. But if all these kids see is men who look like me being thugs, doing all these negative things, it's going to make them think, oh, well, if I can't be a basketball player or a rapper, I can't be anybody. So I want to show different because we're not Black people in America. We're not all thugs and killers and all this crazy stuff. Like there's civilized Black people in America. But if you were from another country and never saw a Black American and tuned into our culture, you would think, I would be afraid. If I lived in another country and never met if I was white, never met a Black person in my life and tuned into American Black culture, I would be terrified.
And it's so different over here in Australia. I mean, you've been to Melbourne as well. We live in such a multicultural city. We've got people from every single country and pretty much every cuisine that you could think of. So we really get to immerse ourselves in many different cultures. But yeah, the screens do not display all of these different types of people and these different ways of how they relate. It really is typecast. But yeah, we have a lot of American TV. I was saying to you backstage, we probably have more American movies than TV compared to Australian. So it's not too different here. It is, yeah. And I just watching like you, and since we spoke, I think it was last year, what I've seen like grow within you, and I remember you were saying, and you were just talking about it before, like having, making money, whether it's like, investing and things like that. I know that a big drive for that, and you've got a gorgeous baby boy who I think, is he 5 now?
He's 5 now, yeah.
Yeah, he's gorgeous. And I know that he's been such a beautiful, what would I say? I don't know the word in English,
anchor.
But it would be,
yeah, he grounded me. My son grounded me.
Yeah, and I've seen such this amazing growth within you since having your son, but also, creating that stability, creating that, I guess, like more solid kind of financial foundation. Mm-hmm. But I know that a big part of this is also being about like healing and working on yourself before attracting in that next relationship. And I know that it's more that you're looking for that person who's also done the healing. Can you maybe talk about how important healing is before we're attracting, and I've definitely been there, with the narcissistic partners and, you know, those sorts of things. Can you maybe give a little bit of protection and advice to people that are still in people-pleasing phases or don't know how to set boundaries?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say that it's not about waiting until you're healed before you get into relationships, because actually getting into relationships shows you where your wounds are.
Yeah,
Right?
true.
So when I step into a relationship, I step in as a teacher and a student. I know she's going to trigger the wounds me I need to look at, and vice versa, right? So I'm teaching her where her wounds are. She's teaching me where my wounds are. So for me, I step in from a different space. Most people step into a relationship to come get. I step in to come learn and share and grow. That's how I actually come in. I know I'm going to be triggered. Now, this is the longest I've been single in a long time. It's been over 3 years now. And within these 3 years, I've done a lot of inner work and I've grown a lot. I've become more calm, even more comfortable in my skin. Even it's getting deeper and deeper and
You
deeper.
can see it.
And you really can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I tell people, like, people ask, well, how do you know you've healed? This is how I know, because I have certain female friends in my life that I've developed friendships with within these 3 years. And okay, so one of my wounds was not feeling seen by women, right? So I will always attract women in relationships who really didn't truly see me. And I'm always trying to show my value. See, see, right? Over teaching and sharing with them in their face. So now, if I'm interested in a woman, I could care less if they agree with anything that I share. It's not, I'll just share it. You don't see it? Okay, you don't see it. That's fine. Like, it's no trigger behind it. And now I have female friends who are in my life now. Like, one of my female friends told me, you know what? You're kind. I've never had a woman just straight up tell me that. So I'm being seen, right? Another female friend of mine is saying to me, I'm so glad you're in my life. You helped me and did, like, showing me that she sees me. So I'm getting a reflection back to me, showing me that I'm being seen now. That means I'm doing the healing, right? Because I'm not trying hard to be seen by women. I'm just being who I am. And the reflections coming back. I see you. I see you. So that's showing me, and that's the thing. Relating with the opposite sex doesn't always have to be romantic for you to see your healing or to do your healing. Just the dynamic of me dealing with a woman can show me where I am, even if we're not romantic, right?
Yeah.
And then what I started to notice is certain women of maybe potential future partners starts to show up to starting to reflect what I'm like, oh, that's what I've been looking for. But it's no pressure. I'm not pushing. I'm just, oh, this feels good.
Yeah.
And I feel like the universe is showing me I can attract something like that because it's in my sphere. But I don't have to over attach to that. Well, oh, that's the one. I don't do that anymore. I used to. But now it's like, oh, the universe is showing me I can attract that type of energy. So just be patient and let it naturally fall into my circle, into my space, and just be open and continue to get deeper and deeper of grounding into my physical nature. Because, you know, when I was in my monk phase before my son was born, I was too idealistic, right? I had somebody on my Facebook page say the other day, you've changed. What happened to you? What happened to me is I got grounded. that's what happened. So the monk is still there, and I understand the spiritual, everything I've been teaching, that's still there, but I'm able to ground that understanding into real life and to implement the aspects of that in a practical way and to walk more in a practical way. Because before, when I was in the monk phase, there were certain things I was saying that wasn't grounded enough. And I admit that and attest to my growth when it comes to that. And my son was a blessing because my son literally represents the full circle of my monk phase coming back to the king whole. I feel like the monk part of me is like the feminine side and the king side is like the masculine side. So now my son literally snapped in the whole, brought me into that whole place now where both are there. And now I can shift into both of them in any way I need to, right?
Yeah.
I can actually be idealistic, but still be realistic. You see that
Yeah.
type of dynamic that I didn't really have before, you know, because I had an ex-girlfriend that used to tell me certain things. And I used to kind of dismiss it like, she was being more realistic and I was being too idealistic.
Yeah. And
Retro.
that's good you can see that reflection. What I also see, like in what you're describing, is that you're not operating out of this place of scarcity. So I know you're going to get a lot more potential, partners start to show up in your life, and a lot more abundance of opportunities too, whether it's with work, relationships. What was it that, because I know a lot of people will be thinking and going, gosh, like you did this, you went from this point of kind of recognizing that there's that wound of not being seen. What was it between the bridge of that? And this is like where I'm fascinated. I've been really diving deep into this a lot more this year. And for people, what was it that connected the dots or like healed and built this bridge to go from that old version of you into this new version? Was there an aha moment or a point of where you dove deep and you really saw that change and healing, or was it consistency?
It was the constant chipping away at the wound, right? It was a process because it was a deep wound, because it was a mother wound. So it
Yeah.
was deep, right? So I tell people, when your wounds are huge, don't expect to get over it overnight. There's a chipping away. Just be patient with yourself. And as long as you keep doing the work to chip away at it. So it was a chipping away process. And my last relationship, when it ended, I'm thankful for her. She's one of my greatest teachers, because I feel like the end of that relationship kind of put me in a position to where, how can I explain this? It felt like I finally took off the rose-colored glasses when it came to relationships, and I got more real with myself and more real with the reality of relating, right? Once again, because I was a little too idealistic when it came to the concept of relationships as well. Like, oh, we love, it don't matter, yeah, all this stuff. Yeah. No, when I'm considering a partner now, I'm considering how you grew up. I'm considering how your culture influences how you think. I'm considering these things that I didn't consider before, right? Because in the month phase, it's all love. It doesn't matter. We can make it work. No, love is important and it has to be part of the dynamic for sure. But so does compatibility. See, the king in me is like, are we compatible? The monk in me is like, here's the love. Before it was just like love, float around. No, that does not work in the real world. And we have to ground our power. We have to ground our love in reality. So for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm approaching love from the most grounded position I've ever approached it before, right? To where I'm real. Because there are women that I've talked to or met who I feel like they have some of the qualities that I like, but if I'm real like I am now, we're not compatible enough though, and that's okay. Being compatible enough is not enough. We have to align like in a major way for it to work. And I won't, and another thing too, before, I should have never thought about being in serious relationships when I wasn't financially stable enough. So now I've been quietly building my investments and building my money up, right? And once I get to a position to where I'm more stable, that's when I'll consider being in a relationship, right? And that's
Yeah.
another thing. In my idealistic monk phase, I was like, it don't matter. We can just manifest whatever we want, which is a cool idea. And we do manifest, but we have to be real. Because as we both know, I know you understand as you're a woman, it's natural for a woman to need stability in a man when it comes to finances, because women give birth to children and need to feel like that we can have what we need, right? It's just a natural instinct. And I want to say this, there was a part of me in my monk phase that didn't want to accept that. I think I knew it, but there's a part of me that didn't want to accept it because I didn't have that money, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you don't want to accept something that's true if you don't feel like you're in a position to be able to do it, right?
That changes
I'm gonna
everything.
be real.
Yeah, that changes everything, that realization. And I was listening to a podcast getting ready this morning, and it was talking about women that are, like with me, like I'm an entrepreneur, I have my own business and everything, and I've always been my financial provider in most relationships, except for, when I've had my babies and, I've been doing full-time mum stuff. But yeah, other than that, and it's interesting because for me, like I still don't drop into that masculine energy. I might be working a lot, but I think it's really important for the women on the other side of things, even if you are, looking after yourself financially and everything, it's still really important to be able to detach from that masculine energy of work, 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 and being the breadwinner and being more in that masculine provider role. And we're just talking about back in the days of, hunter-gatherer type stage, or, protect and nurture type energy, to use those sort of archetypes. And I think that's a really huge realization that you had, and a real big, grounding. And that's maybe like where I see the shift in you as well. I'm going to ask you another question. So I'm just having a look.
I actually want to share something connected to what you.
That'd be great.
I feel like it's very, very, very important because I never really brought this up. We have to learn how to scale things. And I'm going to bring it full circle. Stay with me. So back in the 1940s, 1950s, right, in America, a man could get a job to make enough money to afford for his wife to stay home and take care of the kids, and he just worked, and they had a car and everything, right? The economic climate has an intense influence on the relationships between men and women, right? This is no longer 1950. So with women, I want women to understand this. The average income in America is between $60,000 and $70,000 a year. And there are a lot of women all these women saying, I want a man that makes $100,000. 10% of men make $100,000. That means 90% of men and women don't make that amount. It is unrealistic to think that you can get that, because the men in the 10% has more options and they can just fly women out. And so we have to get realistic. And I want to say this. I understand that women want to have access to a man with more resources. And because of the internet, men with resources have more access to women so a lot of times women think they have that option to get one of these men, and they don't really have that option. So I'm saying all this to say that here, what I think the solution is, we need to I understand that women need security, but the extreme nature of chasing the bag and the man, let's pull back from the extreme nature of that. And us as men, this extreme nature of getting the beautiful, let's pull back and let's get real and break down. Who do you really like? Who are you really attracted to? Who do you really vibe with? A man and a woman, we need to get back to connecting who we really vibe with. And guess what? The reality is most men and women, if they get married, they both have to work jobs. 90%. This is the case for 90% of Americans. I can't speak about Australia. So here's a solution.
It'd probably be maybe like 95, 98% of Australians.
So here's the solution though. Because me and my ex was doing this before we broke up. When a man and a woman get together today, become financially literate and learn how to invest, and take a portion of both of you guys' income and start learning how to invest, so you can get to a point where eventually your money is working for you harder than you're working for it. Then you both can eventually be free to where you both have more time to take care of the children. You both can cook together. You both can clean together. Because I understand that it's more in a woman's nature to be nurturing, but I'm not like, get your ass in the kitchen, that's it. That's not the dynamic. Like, we can cook together, we can raise the kids together. You understand? So it could be a dance in between that. But I feel like the solution is we have to understand that we have to look at it in the proper scale and adapt accordingly. You can't expect to have a relationship that reflects the economy of 1950 and 2024. You have to adapt, which means we can't rely on pensions. I don't think we're going to be able to rely on the 401ks that everybody got their money in. But what we can do is we could become financially literate and learn how to invest in multiple assets and slowly build that up as a team. Me and my ex did it. We made a decent, before we broke up, I taught her how to invest. And we were doing well. I lost a lot of money and made some mistakes, but I'm getting it back now. But all I'm saying is we were on that path. So I'm not just talking out of my ass when I'm saying this. Like, I live this, right?
Yeah.
So people, become financially literate so you and your partner can get free, and y'all both can have more time with the kids, and y'all both can travel with the kids and enjoy life and not be slaves until you're 65 years old.
Yeah, I'm just getting goosebumps with everything that you say. And I see Lisa's saying she loves everything that you're saying too. And not just that, like how important that is for kids to grow up with those parents. And I think when we look at a lot of families separating, and money is one of those things that's like the highest stress. The other thing too, I think that a lot of Hollywood and TV and programming has also influenced people in that's what you see on TV all the time. It's like affairs, it's breakups, it's all of the crazy chaotic stuff. And it's good that you're really working on bringing the bigger, better stories to the screen. So I can't wait to see what you do. I know we don't have much longer left.
I'm sorry about that long rant. I know you wanted to ask. I felt like I had to get that off my chest.
No, I feel like that it was really important that you had to say that. And even from, my side of things, my first daughter was born in the year 2000, and how much things have changed financially since then. Like, I'm lucky that I was one of those probably that last generation to be able to be at home more with the kids. And, it was, I was working on the side towards like when the kids started to get older. And then like when my son was in class 1, I was able to fully launch back into full-time work with still doing school pickups and things. But, I think it's important that we share the roles with our children, that it's not just, dad coming home exhausted at the end of the day. And the kids missing out on that experience. Like, I see how hard my partner works, like with my stepkids and that, and they see how hard I work, but they know that we're both like working together to make a difference. Still financially like independent, but it's that I really value what a hard worker he is. And I think that's the thing too, is there's sometimes like when, you maybe are in one of those 10% situations of like the man being provider, is it always valued and respected? And that's one thing that we were taught as like a real big foundational thing growing up. My mom was always that beautiful example of, this is why your dad worked so hard. So like we were always super grateful for, what he did or the sacrifices. So I think if you are in one of those situations, it's good to really be grateful, to count your blessings. Yeah, that's sort of, I guess, the feminine Australian side of what I've sort of seen and experienced.
And you've always been in your feminine energy. When I met you in person, just our interactions, and I can see that you also handle your business as well. And that's that beautiful balance, right? And just like with me, I could be laser focused on my masculine and do what I need to do and take action, but I could also be emotionally available, right?
Yeah.
And be there. And I've gotten better at that as well. In these 3 years I've been single, like I've really got to a point where I could really, hold that space even deeper for a woman. But not to say, but you can't just be a complete emotional tornado. You got to have some emotional regulation as well. It's a scale, right?
Like, I was just thinking exactly that. You can't be in the depleted kind of wounded feminine. You need to be like, know how to regulate your nervous system yourself, not be sort of always placing blame, like being in this space of looking at, there's, something like how you were saying before about reflecting and going, right, I'm not feeling seen. Like I know that's been one of my things too, being one of 4 kids growing up and being the oldest. There was that same sort of wound around not being seen or not being like valued. So I attracted, some relationships where, it was more where I would be not in victim mentality, but like my value and worth, I had that same wound of having to feel that I had to prove myself. So when you were saying that, I could so relate, but from the feminine point of view. And it really is, it's a lot of work for me. It wasn't an overnight change either. It was a few relationships sort of showing that wound or showing that aspect. But thank God that's over.
And I want to say this, so I want to say to the men, listen, men, we've been hurting women, and we have to stop looking at women as just a beautiful prop. Okay, women, you've been hurting us men, and you need to stop looking at men as just a bag of money. Okay, let's get back to actually loving one another and figuring it out together. Okay, I don't want a woman just because she's pretty. And I don't want a woman to want me just because I have money. I want you to want me because you love who I am, what I represent as a man. And I want to love my partner for who she is and what she represents as a woman. And of course, a physical attraction has to be there, but that should not be what it's all about. It shouldn't just be all about looks and money. Let's snap out of this superficial way of being and get back to being more human, right? Because we've become trend chasing, clout chasing bots through social media. That's what we become.
Yeah. And I like that you've addressed like the beauty thing too, because I have had those partners that have wanted for, you know, the physical side of things. And it's funny because they've wanted to tone down what I do for work and to more kind of like run with the because I have worked in beauty as well, and they've wanted to run with that story rather than what I actually, you guys see me do today. So it's funny when the woman becomes the handbag or the arm candy to the man as well. So it's important to speak up if that is happening to you in a relationship where you are sort of more, you know, the arm candy side of things, because I think that we all just want to be loved and seen for who we are on a soul level.
Mm-hmm. I surely want to be loved for who I am, and I want to love a woman for who she is. But once again, right, that's because I'm authentic. I walk in that. I live in that. You know, I want to be authentic, and I want people in my circle who are authentic, that are truly being who they are. I mean, if you're not being authentic, are you truly being human? Let's just what does it mean to me? To be truly human is to truly be who you are and express that in the world, right? And modern culture is putting us further and further and further away from being human and valuing what it means to actually be human. Think about that for a second. We're valuing what it means to go viral before we're valuing what it means to actually truly connect with others. That's crazy to me.
And we will swing back. I think with this age of Aquarius, we needed to come to this mountain of realization around that.
I agree.
And I can see with Debs, she's just saying that her lovely niece has had major heart surgery. So just our thoughts,
healing vibes.
Yeah, going out to your beautiful niece.
Your niece.
And so we're sort of at the end of the hour. I do have to go in a minute, but I just wanted to ask if there's anything you want to share.
Anything I want to share? Yeah, I just want to say, let's stop this gender war, because here's the thing, right? For us to heal society, because society is just decimated. The family units are decimated. Our communities are decimated. And the only way we can heal our communities is to heal ourselves and engage in loving relationships that can bring forth loving family units, that could bring forth loving communities. We are the answers to healing our community, but we have to get back to being human. We have to get back to being authentic. We have to get back to representing God, right, collectively.
Yeah, I definitely think that's important, and that will change the whole trajectory of our history. It will change families, it will change individuals' lives. So that's really words of wisdom there. And I just want to bring up your website so that people can find where to connect. So if you guys want to jump on over to Instagram or Linktree, you'll find Jason's details. So you can follow him on Facebook just by typing in his name, and also stay tuned to catch up with your projects, like the Windows project that you're working with. And I just want to remind you guys please make sure to join the competition before it ends. If you guys want to win all 6 of my potions, plus a reading with me. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining and sharing the love with us today. We appreciate your likes, shares, and comments. And Jason, it's been amazing to reconnect with you. And I just see such growth from the first interviews that we've done till this point now. So keep up the amazing work, and I will catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
You're so welcome. Bye. Bye, everyone.